The sun blazed down on the village square as the elders stood in a tight circle. Olabisi, barely 16, knelt in the center, clutching his drum like it was the only thing keeping him alive. The winds have spoken to him. Elder Abani shouted, her voice trembling with fury. Since the day this boy was born, misfortune has plagued us. It's not true. Olabisi cried. His voice cracked, but his eyes burned with defiance. I only listen to the wind and I don't control it. He defended himself. I stood among the crowd, my heart pounding. My hands gripped a stone, the same as everyone else's. But unlike them, I hesitated. You cursed our land, a farmer yelled, stepping forward. The storm that ruined our crops, the sickness in the cattle, it all started when you played that cursed drum. The chief raised his hand to silence us. He turned to Olabisi, his face a mask of sorrow. You must leave, Olabisi. Take your drum and go. If you return, we will not show mercy. The crowd erupted into jeers. Stones flew. I didn't throw mine, but I didn't stop them either. Olabisi rose, his face streaked with tears. His parting words chilled me to my bones. The wind sees everything. One day, it will judge you all. He said, looking into my eyes. Later that night, after Olabisi was gone, I sat by the dying embers of my fire, unable to sleep. His words echoed in my mind, and with them came a memory. It was 3 years ago, during the New Yam festival. The entire village had gathered under the baobab tree. The air is alive with the scent of roasted yams and laughter. Olabisi, a child shouted, pointing to the boy sitting shyly at the edge of the crowd. Play for us? The chief himself beckoned Olabisi forward. Come, boy. Show us what you can do. Olabisi hesitated, clutching his drum nervously. But when he began to play, the entire village fell silent. His hands danced across the drum, weaving a rhythm that seemed to echo the rustling leaves and flowing river. The crowd erupted in cheers. People clapped, danced, and shouted for more. The chief laughed, slapping his knee. This boy was born with a gift. I remembered joining the circle of dancers, my feet moving to Olabisi's beat. For a brief moment, we were all united in joy. Olabisi became my close friend. But now, that same boy was gone, and the silence he left behind was deafening. Months passed. The rain stopped, and the fields dried up. The riverbed cracked like broken pottery. People began to whisper. We shouldn't have driven him away, an old woman muttered as I helped her carry water. The boy wasn't cursed. We were. One night, during another tense village meeting, a scout burst into the square. He was bleeding and out of breath. Raiders, he gasped. They've taken 2 villages downriver. They'll come for us next. The chief's face turned grim. How many? Dozens. Armed with spears and torches. They are burning everything. Panic rippled through the crowd. The warriors were too few, and we were outnumbered. The chief ordered us to fortify the village, but deep down, we knew it wouldn't be enough. Late that night, as I stood guard near the river, I heard it, the faint, rhythmic beat of a drum. It was distant, like a heartbeat carried on the wind. Olabisi, I whispered. Without thinking, I grabbed the lantern and followed the sound. The path was treacherous, but the drum guided me. After hours of walking, I found him. Olabisi sat by a fire, his back straight, his hands moving over the drum with practiced ease. His eyes met mine, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. You shouldn't be here, he said finally, his voice cold. We need you, I blurted. The raiders are coming. They'll destroy everything. He laughed bitterly. Now you need me. After what you did. I knelt before him, shame flooding my chest. I was wrong. We were all wrong. But please, help us. He stared at me for a long time, then sighed. The wind told me about the raiders. I know their plans. I help, not for you, but for the innocent ones who don't deserve to suffer. When I brought Olabisi back, the village erupted in chaos. "Have you lost your mind?" Elder Abani shouted. "This boy is the reason for our misfortune. He's the reason we're still alive." I shouted back. "He knows how to stop the raiders." The chief stepped forward, silencing everyone. He looked at Olabisi, his expression unreadable. "Speak," he said. Olabisi explained his plan. He would play his drum to mimic the raiders' signals, tricking them into splitting up. Our warriors would then ambush the smaller groups. The elders were skeptical, but desperation left them no choice. The night of the attack was eerily quiet. Olabisi climbed the tallest hill, his drum strapped to his chest. As the raiders approached, he began to play. The sound was hypnotic, echoing across the valley. The raiders hesitated, then scattered, just as he predicted. Our warriors attacked with everything they had. The battle was fierce. I fought alongside them, my heart pounding with fear and adrenaline. Suddenly, a scream pierced the air. I turned to see Olabisi collapse, an arrow lodged in his shoulder. The pain caused him to stop beating his drum as he tried to shield himself. The raiders became stronger each minute the drum wasn't playing. Olabisi quickly realizes the raiders' strength. He grew courage despite the blood gushing out of his hands. He picks his drum slowly as he starts drumming a new rhythm to confuse them again, saving the plan but worsening his wounds. We won the battle, but the victory was bittersweet. Olabisi was carried back to the village, his face pale and his body trembling. The chief knelt beside him. "You saved us," he said. "You've proven yourself braver than all of us combined." Olabisi smiled weakly. "I only did what the wind told me to." His injury left him unable to drum, but the village built a shrine under the baobab tree in his honor. Children gathered there every day to learn his songs, his rhythms, his wisdom. Now, when the wind blows through Iroko Hills, it carries a song, a reminder of the boy we cast out and the lesson we learned too late. So, I ask you, dear viewers, if you were Olabisi, could you forgive the ones who betrayed you? Let me know what you think in the comments. Like and subscribe for more. See you in the next video.